Is there really a secret season of Black Butler? Hours of animations, dialogue, and a storyline that's been lost for more than a decade? Black Butler is a pretty accessible anime. The licensing changes make finding it all in one piece difficult, but the seasons and OVAs are easy enough to find, and it's young enough that none of it has seemingly faded into obscurity. Lost media isn't something that really comes to mind when thinking about this anime, which is why I got interested when I recently stumbled across a post on the Black Butler subreddit, which is where I'm sure some of you originally found this channel. It all goes full circle. In November of 2022, user LivingMolasses2505, who I will refer to as Molasses, asked for help figuring out a possibly missing entire season of the Black Butler anime. Yes, a whole season. Molasses wrote, "I had a conversation with my boss, who I will refer to as boss, who used to be involved in the mid-2000s to early 2010s anime scene. When piracy websites were just beginning to exist, he mentioned to me that he really liked Black Butler when it came out, and especially the second season, since he appreciated how different it was from the original." Okay. However, he was disappointed that he wasn't able to find season 2 anymore. I asked for further details since I thought it was still available on Hulu. He said that the official season 2 and the season 2 that he saw were completely different. He then described to me a season of the show with virtually the same main characters as season 2, but with little to no appearances from several other characters. The angels came back as the antagonists instead of Alois and Claude. It was only available in Japanese and came out a month before the official release of the first DVD of season 2. 13 episodes. There were at least 2 fight scenes with Angela and Ash, one of them involving Sebastian and Claude working together. Ciel did not become a demon. Overall, it had a large amount of, mature scenes. Specifically, there was one between Alois and Ciel that he could only describe as shocking for the time. I asked maybe if he was mistaking this last scene in particular with any of the 6 OVAs at the time, and he said no. He said it was very distinct, that he and his former college roommate watched it on the same website, and they both remember it clearly. He said the season itself could have been fan-made, but that fan-made seasons were rarely that good and that high in quality, and was sure that this one was the real deal. He then said that the entire season was taken down from the site about 2 weeks later, and in September of 2010, it came back, but was not the same as the one before, and he hasn't been able to find it since. At first, I thought this could have been Boss thinking about one of numerous lost Animax dubs, a topic that definitely deserves a video of its own with just how ridiculous they could be. One with inaccurate translations causing him to misremember the plot entirely and what had happened. But since this version was supposedly in its original Japanese, Animax craziness could not have been a possibility here. I started searching the internet, looking for any other mentions or any other people trying to find this alternate season 2, or any trail of anime-related lost media from Black Butler. And nothing came up. Apart from this Reddit post and a different one searching for an unrelated Animax dub, there seems to be no indication of any Black Butler anime lost media, let alone this specific season. However, just because no one else is looking for it, doesn't necessarily mean it couldn't have existed at some point. A commenter on the Reddit post mentioned that they recalled the scene where Sebastian and Claude did fight against the angels together, but then disagreed on some of the other details. Since it is just one testimony, we can't give it that much credibility, and the horrendous grammar makes me think it could just be a troll. User Earl of Phantom Hive pointed out, a supposed shocking Alois CL scene would have definitely been a huge topic of discussion within the fandom, especially in the early to mid 2010s, and if there was a cover-up attempt afterwards. I definitely agree with this point if this supposed alternate version of Season 2 was widely available online. In that case, then absolutely, it would not have been forgotten based simply on the nature of certain parts of the Black Butler fanbase. However, what if this supposed season was not widely available? What if Boss had stumbled upon a prototype or some sort of pilot for Season 2 that was not intended to be released outside of its target audience? Pilots in animes are not nearly as common as pilots in Western television, in which most productions create pilot episodes to test the waters to see if the show would be successful. Pilots of animes do indeed exist. For example, Hunter x Hunter released a pilot film in 1998 before the series itself started airing in 1999. And Death Parade began kind of as a pilot called Death Billiards as part of 2013's Young Animator Training Project, before being turned into a full anime to air 2 years later. So it's not entirely impossible that Black Butler's Season 2, given how it is not based on any source material, could have had a pilot made for testing purposes. It could be possible that parts of a Season 2 pilot or training project ended up leaked on a pirating website, which could explain the lack of certain characters and additional scenes that didn't make the eventual production. However, Boss claims that what he saw had 13 episodes, whereas anime pilots range from a couple minutes to movie length. Additionally, records of pilots exist online, but there are none for Black Butler. The quick takedown of this supposed lost season and eventual re-upload of the current Season 2 simply doesn't make sense to me. Why would only a specific season of a specific anime get taken down, and not the whole pirating website for, well, pirating? Who took it down? Surely the people running the pirating website didn't, since what incentive would they have to cover it up? And why go through the effort of switching it out for the other Season 2? It just doesn't add up. Additionally, the detail of this lost version having extreme mature scenes, and that being the reason for Boss's liking of it, seems quite strange. Not that that in itself is a valid reason for dismissing it as fake, but it could be him misremembering a dream or what he wanted to see in the actual Season 2 and deluding himself into mistaking it for reality. Or it could have been an unusually high-quality fan-made production, which could explain the pirate website's replacement of it once they realized that what they had uploaded was not the real anime. It could be possible that, due to copyright issues, the fans who created this fantasy season were forced to remove its traces from the internet. But it's still bizarre that no one else has been looking for it, and that no one has mentioned it on any forums or websites if this indeed was a fan creation that people had access to at some point, especially one catering to the more vocal part of the Black Butler fanbase. The extra detail of this lost season coming out 1 month before Season 2's DVD seems off-putting to me as well. It feels oddly specific. If I hypothetically went on a pirating website to hypothetically watch something, and later went back only to see that it's gone, I wouldn't remember what date that content had been uploaded. Maybe it's just me, but that's a detail that I think most people don't care about when consuming pirated content, since what would be the point of keeping a record of when it was posted? Perhaps Boss just happened to remember that from the webpage, but it is so specific that it makes me doubt his story. But then, what would be the point of lying? The Black Butler subreddit is not active, so what could be Molasses' reason to lie? It wouldn't be for a karma mine, that's for sure. And judging by their post history, they're just another person like you and me using the internet, not a bot or a troll. And what benefit could Boss have for lying to Molasses? Granted, we don't know much about this person at all, but from the little bit that we do know, it seems like he and Molasses had a regular conversation like any two people do. So the lying route doesn't make much sense here either, since Boss would get nothing out of it. All in all, the hours I spent digging every corner of the internet I possibly could came up fruitless. This alternate season 2 doesn't seem to exist anymore, if it ever did in the first place, at least online. I'm not ruling out its existence as a possibility. There could have been an alternate, pilot, or fan-made season 2 that was scrubbed clean off of the internet, and all that remains are the memories of those who saw it over a decade after its disappearance. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think this lost season exists out there somewhere? Or do you think it's a case of faulty memory, or maybe just a lie? I'd love to hear your thoughts. And please like this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe and ring that bell for more anime related content, and I will see you again next week. Thank you so much for watching. Bye bye!